Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Software Plaza podcast. I'm Twain Taylor, editor at Software Plaza, and each week I bring you conversations from various parts of the landscape of cloud native computing. And we talk to startups building some of the coolest things. And it's a very exciting thing that I get to do that I'm really passionate about. And I'm glad you could join us on this journey. If you want to hear more conversations like this, go check out all of the other chats we've had over the past few years. It's over at softwareplaza.com. And we have with us today Natan Yellin, who's the CEO of Robusta. And this is his second chat with us. He was here about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. And he was talking to us about Robusta, but their focus was different. So they were still, well, they were in the Kubernetes space, but they were solving different problems. And I think over the last year, they've gone through a lot of changes in terms of product. And I've been seeing a lot of his updates on LinkedIn about just the kind of traction they've been seeing, and it's been exciting. So I thought, why not get him over for part two of the conversation to tell us all that's happening, because it sounds really exciting what's happening at Robusta. So with that, Nathan, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's been a crazy, crazy 2 years, I think, for everyone. And
Yeah.
I think given how much has changed in the past 2 years, I don't even know where we're going to be 2 years from now. I don't think anyone knows. But it's been a crazy
Yeah.
journey, and thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, the world is changing so much. The with AI, it's like each month is a new month, and everyone is wondering, how what the world is going to look like a year or 2 years from now. It's changing so fast, and I follow you on LinkedIn, and I've just seen some of the updates you share about how uh, your open source project has been gaining so much traction, and a lot of interesting posts on that front. I want to ask, starting
Mhm.
with that, tell us about the pivot you've made since you last came here. What was Robusta focused on before, and what's the change now?
So we started as a company focused on making Kubernetes monitoring easy. And today the ecosystem around that is a bit more mature. And there's some other good offerings on the market as well. But when we really started doing this, then the ecosystem around that was less mature. And we spoke to live companies and live our customers came to us because they had set up Kubernetes, they rolled it out to developers, people were developing on that, and there were a lot of pain points, a lot of people who ended up coming regularly to their DevOps and their SRE teams asking for help, to their platform teams asking for help. And we started thinking like, how can we make it easier for people to monitor applications running on Kubernetes? And then what happened a lot. We had and we still have a good offering around that. But what happened
Mm,
became really, really interesting because we about a year and a half ago, we started thinking like, okay, maybe we can actually use AI to solve this problem. And then we started developing what's now HolmesGPT. And it turned out that you could solve way bigger problems with HolmesGPT. So it turned out that the problem that we were focused on was actually a really, really small part of it. Like the problem we were focused on was how do we make it easier to understand why alerts are firing on Kubernetes to monitor applications. But it turned out
mm,
the solution we started developing for that turned out to solve a much bigger problem of like how can you take any monitoring observability problem, any IT issue, and give people the root cause on that and help them solve that. So, as an example, like one of our customers is an airlines company, and people come to the airport and say there's a problem checking in at the airport. So their SRE team uses HolmesGPT to get to the problem and to reduce the time that it takes to troubleshoot and solve a problem like that. A few of our customers are in the online gaming industry or in sports betting. So you think of the World Cup, people placing huge, huge volumes of money being transacted in a really short period of time. And if something goes wrong, it's an extremely high stakes event. And it costs the companies that are running that sports betting infrastructure a whole lot of money.
mm,
Every minute of downtime is enough to get someone fired. It's really, really an expensive problem. And
mhm, mhm.
they use our AI agent to guarantee reliability of their services during those really high stake events. Of course, during the rest
Mm.
of the year to improve reliability, but it's less of a stressful time. So it turned out that Kubernetes, which is where we started, is only like a very, very small piece of that puzzle. So we still do the Kubernetes piece. We do it really well. That's where Holmes started. But Holmes has
Mm.
gone way beyond that. A common ask that still surprises me is we get people asking us, can they use the AI agent? Can they use HolmesGPT with their IBM mainframe? So we've gone way
Mm.
beyond Kubernetes at this point. Of course, EC2 instances in AWS and OpenShift, and I mean OpenShift is Kubernetes, but AWS and GCP and now Oracle Cloud. So there's like a whole really big ma neighborhood of stuff that you have to do. And then the other thing that becomes interesting is to do like to have a really good SRE agent. So to have like an AI agent that can troubleshoot problems effectively. Like in the first
Mm.
circle, the stuff you have to be connected to, you have to be connected to observability systems, right? Logging, metrics, traces. Then in the second circle, though, you have to be connected to the cloud provider. In the third circle, you have to be connected to the source control. In the fourth circle, now you need to be connected to ITSM, like ServiceNow, right? Or to Freshworks, right? And then in like the next circle around that, you actually have to be connecting out to Confluence and to Notion, to the organizational data, because they're like all the pieces that you need to solve that puzzle are spread out over the organization. And then layer beyond that, like it turns out you actually have to be connected to Postgres databases, like to be able to read other operational data that lands there if your customer is like an IoT customer, right? They're running all these devices to like investigate why something is wrong. You want to read a device status from a database. So like it turns out that very rapidly you start from a core area around observability, but to do an SRE agent really well, you actually have to have connectors for everything. Part of that is, of course, MCP, but there are some cases where that doesn't work well enough, or cases when there aren't MCPs for various esoteric systems. So you have to have the ability really to take any HTTP API and to have your SRE agent tap the data beyond that. And it's been a really, really
Wow.
interesting journey. And I guess to wrap it up, Kubernetes is just like a very, very small part of that.
Hmm. Oh, really interesting. And just to clarify, when you say Holmes, it's not like HOMES, it's HOLMES, like Sherlock Holmes, GPT, that kind. Um,
Yes,
and
Holmes
so
GPT.
looking it
Yeah.
up, yeah, it's HOLMES. I want to just ask about from like a product builder's point of view, what was it like for you? How did it start? Was it like a like how much of a shock? When was the aha moment? And what kind of decision was it? Was it a difficult decision that you had to give up something and then be on this new path, or was it very organic and very seamless? What was it like for you as like a product builder?
It always seems seamless from the outside, I think. From the outside, like a nice story, right? I just told a nice story. But on the inside, it was an incredibly hard decision with
Mm.
a lot of internal um there was a lot of internal debate around this. We weren't sure that it was the right thing to do because you have to remember, we're looking at this today in 2026 with the advantage that we know today that like
Mm.
large language models are incredibly powerful and they can
Mm.
reason very well and they can generalize beyond writing code. And hallucinations is something that with the right agent harness you can address and deal with adequately. Like we're looking at this today from 2026, where it's very obvious that LLMs are like this incredible, fantastic thing, and everyone is all in on that. When we started doing this, we started building this around the time, it was actually maybe more than a year and a half ago, but it was around the time of GPT 3.5. And it was a terrible model. It was a terrible model that was really not capable. And like we would ask it questions. It had a really like constrained context window. I think the context window was maybe 8K tokens at one point. So like I today it's a million on the bigger models. Or 200 on like most mainstream models. But like we started building this at a time when like we started building it and we measured it and like we internally said there were like there was an internal opposition to this and we in discussions we had internally it was like there are three reasons that this will not work. It, reason number one,
Mm.
I want to see if I can recall this now, but reason number one was that like the output we get is just too verbose and like we couldn't get it to give a short answer. It was like, okay, we can't get like we're not going to give people this huge wall of text on like why something is happening where the answer is like buried at the very end. Like people aren't going to consume that. So it was like, could we even get this to be like some concise format that is useful for people? I think reason two
Mm.
was around hallucinations. Could we get it to not hallucinate? And then I don't remember. I honestly do not remember what reason three was. Maybe it was around the data source, and maybe it was around something else. But there were like three reasons we had internally, three barriers where we said like we think it can't work for these three reasons. But what was good about it is as soon as you say why you can't work for those three reasons, you also set the criteria for how it can work. And
All right.
once we
Mm.
had those, we were like, okay, no, these are the three reasons it can't work. We were actually able to
Yeah.
show internally, like actually all three of those fell very, very fast. All three of those challenges, once we spent a little bit of time with them, they all went away. And then it was like, okay, now there were another list of 10 reasons why it couldn't work. But we already
Mm.
saw the direction it was heading in. So we made a jump and we shifted all the resources to this and we stopped doing other things. And we stopped
Mm.
doing it now, probably we're around the time of GPT-4. And we really went all in on this and stopped doing other things. And that was the painful.
Wow.
We had customers who wanted other things, and we had
Mm.
customers who wanted us to take the product in other areas and wanted us to go and replace other products that they had, where we could have like grown bigger contract sizes, we could have expanded deals, we could have done all that
Mm.
by taking the product in the direction that customers were asking us for. And this is part of what's challenging, by the way, because like everyone says, oh, listen to your customers. Okay, our customers were asking us to do other things. And had we done those things, we would have had a linear evolution of the platform, a very incremental evolution of the platform, and we would not have reached the breakthrough that we got later with HolmesGPT. So it was very non-trivial to be able to, on the one hand, say, okay, we have all these customers who want these things, and we're not going to invest in those right now. We're not going to go off right away and build those other things. We think this is the
Mm.
future. We think that if we build here, but we're going to be able to deliver to those same customers based on what we know about them, based on their needs, based on the discussions we're having with them. We're actually going to delight them a lot more if we can build this other thing. And like a lot of those things that they're asking us to build in the immediate term, they may turn out to be just specific use cases that a general purpose agent on SRE data can actually handle. So it was a very, very hard decision. And in retrospect, it was 100% correct. But we did not know that at the time.
Wow.
At the time,
Amazing journey.
at the time, it felt like we were taking something that was working and we were throwing in the garbage. So it was
Yeah,
hard.
take regard. And I guess you could actually take that kind of a bet because probably you're bootstrapped. I don't know, but are you bootstrapped? Do you have like
No, we're
funding?
VC funded. We're VC funded.
Oh, okay. Oh, you got some really good VCs then.
Well, we have very supportive VCs, and they believed in what we were doing. They believed in the vision, and they believed that this was actually the right direction for us to go in, and that I think they also were a little bit forward looking and they saw where things were going with AI. And it we were able to take because one of the nice things is because we were solving problems though in the same space, like we were
Yeah.
solving, it's not like we went from Kubernetes monitoring to building a marketing tool. Like our customers were the first adopters of what we built. And before we rolled it
Yeah.
out, before it became a CNCF open source project, before any of that happened, like the first people we gave it to, tested it, and helped us were customers, were our existing
Mm.
customers. So that was incredibly valuable. And almost all, not all, there are some exceptions, but almost all of our existing customers are today users of HolmesGPT. So we were able to take
Wow.
them along for the journey. So from a VC perspective, we weren't losing a customer base. We were able to take them with us, but it did take time. It did take time internally where we really focused on building them.
I'm sure that itself is quite a story. Tell me, maybe one or two lessons you learned on, on that front. What was it like getting your customers to move from your old product to this new idea, first test it, try it, and then actually transition them? What was that journey like? What did you learn through that?
We try not to take things away. So we try not to take away existing functionality unless we had a better way of doing it. So even today, there are few things that we've removed from the platform as much as we've given the customers more powerful ways to do the same thing. So like,
Mm.
'cause the customer doesn't care about any of this. Like I'm telling this from a founder startup like
Mm.
oriented perspective, or a customer cares about you have problems, you have like you're buying a
Yeah.
product to solve those problems, and you want to solve those problems, and you want to solve them well, and you want the product to help you solve those, and you have your own goals that
Mm.
you're measured on, and the product is a vehicle to help you get there. But
Hmm.
so the vehicle had to keep on going in the same direction. The vehicle had to still take the customers where they needed to get to and solve the problem for the customer. Um, Along the way, we gave customers more and more powerful ways of doing some of that.
Mm. All right. Interesting there. Yeah, not to take things away and that you're still solving the same problem. And I'm sure there was a lot of communication involved where you had to communicate things a certain way to customers so that they get it, they're excited about it, they're on board with the plan. Uh, yeah, lots there. I want to ask you a bit about your views on platform engineering because that comes up a lot in our conversations, and I think it is relevant to even what you're building with Homes GPT. Because that it seems like it's all the rage now that every organization that runs Kubernetes is focused on having some kind of internal developer platform, and everyone's figuring out how to build it the right way. And there's different views about it. Tell us your view and your approach to platform engineering.
I think it's all changed in the past 6 months, maybe even
Mm-hmm.
December, where there's been this real like non-linear leap in what AI can do. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason I think it's changed is because I think we are no longer building platforms for humans. I think today, like platform engineering is building platforms for AI agents. And the role of
Wow.
humans to build a platform that agents can use effectively. So I'll give you an example. Like we, like everyone else, make extensive use of AI agents. I could be on a call with the customer. We hear about a problem. We spin up a cloud code in the background. We have something ready for review. Like by the time we get off the call with the customer, but I want to go faster, and I want us to go faster. Like, why can't I deliver a fix to a customer on the same call? Why can't I roll out a new version on the same call? So like a lot of that comes down to what does it actually take to get code from the coding agent to production. And along there, you need to verify. So along there, of course, code review is one of the steps that most people are still doing today, and we're doing today. There are companies that are stopping, they're no longer doing that, but at least today we're doing code reviews. And I expect we will for the foreseeable future. But other than the code
Mm-hmm.
review, there's a lot of other pieces that have to go into it. Like an AI agent built something. How do you verify that what it built is actually good? Well, I don't want us to stop what we're doing and to check out the code and like to spin up an environment. So everything has to have ephemeral environments now. So an agent builds something, there has to be an ephemeral environment where you can preview what the agent has built. But so
Mm-hmm.
now you can go off and you can verify very quickly by clicking a few things, see what the agent has built, preview it without ever checking that out. It's all just ready. So when the agent builds something, you check it out, you preview it, and then you can roll something out to a customer, of course. But after it goes through a code review. But can you go beyond that? How do you get the agent to really verify even beyond that that what it's built is good? And so of course you run end-to-end tests on that, you run unit tests and CI/CD, you do all of that. But increasingly we're going beyond that and trying to engineer our CI/CD pipelines, trying to engineer like the entire software development lifecycle so that like a whole bunch of AI generated PRs come in at one end and then like they go through that funnel, they all get tested, they all get verified. If it's a front end change, like whoever's reviewing that should have screenshots attached to the PR, like automatically generated a video of the like where an agent has walked through the platform, showing you exactly what it's built. It's demoed what it's built, like you have environments to check it out. Like how can we shift more and more of that so when you get to the code review, you actually have all these supporting materials, you know exactly, you already know it's working, you have like everything in front of you, and then it's just like quickly eyeballing the code change. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. And to me, that's what the new platform is. To me, the new platform is not how are we building a platform for humans to like deploy stuff without having to know as much about the platform. It's actually how are we building a platform so the agent can close the loop and verify and test its own work and make tweaks if it's not working. And then give it to you to a human for code review only once everything is verified and working. So we're building a platform so the agent can verify its own work and close the loop because very often you will see like with coding agents, that the agent can get things wrong on the first go. And that's fine as long as the agent has a way to check itself and then self-correct without needing you to like copy paste back and forth between like between one window and between the logs and the agent. Because if you do that, then you can't run 100 parallel agents in the background anymore.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, really interesting stuff. I wanted to read from LinkedIn something that you posted and someone had even commented on. Uh, so yeah, you had made this post, and I get, one of our common contacts, Ramiro Berrieza, CEO of Octata, said, I had this exact same conversation 5 to 6 times this week. Natan Yellin is absolutely correct. And he's mentioning this particular post that you wrote a week back, which goes, the role of a software engineer is not to write code. It's to engineer your CI/CD and testing so that you don't need to manually test AI generated PRs. Rather, the agent proves they work. You are the bottleneck. Yeah, quite a, I would say, revolutionary statement. And seems like, it's, I'm really wondering how ready are organizations today for this reality? Because it seems like people are still coming to terms with what building a platform means. And, I mean, typically IT organizations tend to, especially the larger companies, they tend to move slowly. And, change is not as quick to come about. How do you see that in terms of timeline? Because when you talk about AI agents reviewing their own code and verifying their own code, it sounds like that is way in the future still, maybe a year or two down the line. But then from hearing you speak about it, I feel like you feel like it's now and it's here. So, tell us about the timeline about just all that you're saying.
We don't have a year. And like I hope I'm wrong on this, but I think people should take very, very seriously like the velocity at which things are moving and happening. And that if you don't move fast on this, if you aren't able to break those boundaries that keep you from moving faster and innovating and moving and doing working this way, you're at risk of being disrupted by someone who will. And I think we've seen that in recent weeks. Like Anthropic comes out with Cowork, and then everyone sells off half the market. And now Anthropic
Mm.
announces something in the security space, and suddenly all the companies, cybersecurity companies, stocks are down. And that seems
Yeah.
extreme, but what's behind is there really is there's this big gap. There's a huge, huge gap between the way that like people who are really operating like this are able to move and operate, and between the way that people who don't operate like this are moving. And that gap is heading for a collision course and a very painful one. And the
Mm.
people who are moving fast with AI are not going to slow down. They're only going to move faster. Whereas the
Mm.
companies that are not doing that, um, Steve Yege said, and I know this will sound extreme to many people, and I say this, um, I say this because I think it's important for people to take this seriously, but Steve Yege has said that he thinks half the industry, or half the big enterprises, um, are walking dead and they don't know it yet. And that like they're going to be, I mean, he said how he thinks there'll be a wave of mass layoffs because a lot of these companies, um, the only way for them to compete will be to have less people and use more AI. And on the one hand, that seems harsh. On the other hand, if you even assign a 20-30% possibility that he's right on that, and from what we're seeing things seem to be heading in that direction. And even if you put only a 20-30% chance on that, like make sure your team is the team there that is innovating, the team that is able to punch above your weight. Make sure that you're the team, even if it's within a bigger organization, but your team is the team that is using AI, that is moving faster, that is doing that 10x speed. Because the speed improvements you get from AI are real. Like we can do things today that we could never have done in the past. We and the, like other companies that operate this way move at a velocity that would not have been possible in the past. That is absolutely incredible. And it becomes very, very hard to compete with the companies that operate that way if you're not a company that operates like that. And um, I think the best insurance against that and the best policy against that is to really like to move faster on adopting those things because there's everything is changing. And I say to our employees all the time, there's a tsunami coming. And you do not want to be on the beach. Like you may try and ride that tsunami and fall off a little bit earlier, like, but you want to ride that wave. You want to be the tsunami. You do not want to be sitting there on the beach. And everything is changing. And everything is changing really fast. We're only now starting to see the first like first echoes of that in how the public markets are reacting to things and then what's happening. And
Mm.
there's this tsunami coming for the software industry. I mean, I have friends who I have one friend who is in software industry, and they're actually not in coding, but it's something in an adjacent field, and they're looking for work in an entirely different field now because it's becoming increasingly hard. Um, and
Amazing.
I don't say that to be a downer. I don't say that to be a downer. I say that because there's also an incredible opportunity here, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
grab that opportunity.
Yeah. But what would you say to someone who's thinking on these lines? I want to use AI, I want to like be ahead of the curve. Where do you see the opportunities for people who actually want to use AI, do things, quicken the way things happen in their organizations? What are the pockets of opportunities you see?
Do the same things you're doing them today and do them faster. Like you don't need to, you have to get permission to use tooling. That's the part that's challenging in many of the large organizations. But
Mm.
if you can get yourself like a Claude code and do the work that is you're doing today, but show how that can be done faster. And I've had this call with a number of people recently, including one friend of mine in India who's speaking about the change in the organization. I said, like the work that you're doing today. I mean, he said to me, the work like that I'm doing today, this is work that really could be automated by AI. I said, like, don't wait until that happens and like someone from upper management comes along and says like, okay, why don't we lay off everyone here and do this all with AI? So be the person who is showing how it can be done faster, and be the person within the team who's showing how it can become faster and lift up your whole team. Like, don't be replaced by AI. Like, use AI to show how you actually do so much more now. So I think everyone should be really looking at how can you take what you were doing today and have an even bigger, higher impact on your company and make your company succeed and push things forward.
Yeah, a really interesting detour there. Yeah, but I want to bring us back to Holmes GPT. Uh, I want to ask about, yeah, just what you're building. You seem to be really, thrilled about AI, and you seem to be really one of those people pushing the edges with AI and what's possible. Tell us about Holmes GPT and even give us a demo once you give us like the elevator pitch of it.
So it's so simple to explain. I'll start from there. HolmesGPT is like ChatGPT or Claude Code, but connected to all of your observability data, all your monitoring data, all the operational data of your organization, and then with some extra superpowers that makes it really, really good at SRE use cases. So I'll start from something simple. Let's just say what's wrong with order storage app. So I'm asking about some application. I think this is an application running on Kubernetes. It's a very vague, undefined question. And I got a report from a customer, there's a problem with this application. Okay, so first things first comes with a list of what's it going to do. It's looking for that application. So it's searching for the application on Kubernetes. If it doesn't find it here it'll look on other places. It's trying to find the application. Okay, it's found the application. The application is unhealthy. So it's going to go and investigate the application. It's reading the logs, looking at events. Okay, it's a Kubernetes application, but the application is actually fine. It can't connect to an RDS database. It's a database running on AWS. Okay, so there's a connection timeout. So now it's looking at AWS. So it learned something, pivoted the investigation in an entirely different way. So it started on AWS, found something out. Now it's looking, sorry, started on Kubernetes, found something out. Now it's looking at AWS. Okay, the application, the database is actually completely fine. So we have an app, that's fine. We have a database that's fine, but somehow they can't connect. Okay, so it's now looking and it's found out there's a problem with firewall rules. Now it's looking at GitHub to try and figure out like in our Terraform code who changed that. So what you see here is like an AI agent really doing a full SRE investigation end to end, putting together all those different pieces, starting from an alert, finding out the root cause, finding any code that was changed recently, and at the end, it'll open up a pull request for me to go and fix this issue and suggest adding a firewall rule that would allow this application to communicate with that database.
Wow,
And
it's amazing. And you can just watch all of this, and there's just so many steps happening.
oh yeah. And I'll jump ahead just because we're short on time. Like over here,
Oh.
you're just looking at me. Over there, I'm not even looking at anything visual. I'm just asking a question, it's investigating. But of course, there's like a lot of what we do is also letting the agent prove to you that it is correct, prove to you that it's not hallucinating. So as an example, I'm gonna ask it here, like, okay, show me what applications are using the most CPU. And it has full visualization capability. So it can pull the data and then show me a visualization proving the data that is pulling as well.
Wow.
And then I could see a spike and I could say like, okay, why did this spike over here? And we'll investigate exactly why that spiked. Now, we speak a lot about different like ways to use HolmesGPT. So what I'm showing you here is our commercial platform. The open source is a CLI and the HTTP server application. So it comes out of this. And then within our commercial product, we also wrap this up a bunch of different ways. So for example, I can take Holmes now and I can define an investigation that Holmes should do on a schedule. So I can say, okay, every Sunday, like or every Monday, look at my AWS account, find for me the most expensive AWS services, see if anything spiked in my costs in my bill from AWS last week, and then send me a report by email. So the agent also has all these background modes where it does stuff for you in the background and then proactively notifies you, or it can check and spot problems occurring in your infrastructure on its own where you have no alert and then push that out to you. And then a new feature, we just rolled this out today, is also letting HolmesGPT generate dashboards for you. And what's really cool is this is not like traditional dashboards. The dashboards here are actually they can tap any MCP server, so you can generate a dashboard on top of like really any data, not just traditional observability data. Okay, we just rolled that out today, so maybe the demo gods are being unkind to me, but I'm sure you have questions in the meantime, so I'll stop for questions.
Yeah, I was wanting to ask about just how the agent verifies its own work and also about like hallucinations, how you were talking about you could minimize those. Talk to us a bit about that, what's happening behind the scenes and how you make sure that the output is not like wrong, because any mistake could mess with, because if this is a production app, it could break things and there could be a cascading, thing that could take like a bunch of apps down, services down. So how do you prevent that?
Well, the big challenge with anything that does AI and observability data is that observability data is infinite. So you cannot fit observability data into a context window. So, like if you think about it, if you query observability data and you query information, like you have logs, you have terabytes of logs, you have terabytes of metrics, like none of that will ever fit inside a context window. So a big part of what we do is giving the large language model the ability to look at a slice of that, that doesn't fit in the context window with aggregations, with the ability to filter on the results. So what we do is managing that context window in an intelligent manner that's custom to how observability data actually looks. And then to deal with hallucinations, you have to have the agent prove the sources on what it's saying. So we have it generate citations, we have it show you sources, we have it show you the visual graphs, and the way the graphs are built is they can't be hallucinated because the agent is just generating a visualization specification, but the source data it's all visualized from the source. So what we've done is like to build something where it actually is really hard for the agent to hallucinate. It can get stuff wrong, but it's actually really hard to hallucinate. Like when it generates a citation, the citation has to map to like exact text in a file that like was gathered in one of the upstream sources. So the way we handle it, it's very hard for the agent to actually hallucinate.
Mm-hmm. All right, really interesting. And yeah, and I want to ask about just with this new approach, there's obviously an impact on just how troubleshooting happens, how incident management is done, what it means for SREs. Um, Talk to us about what this means for culture of how teams work, and do they need to really change their culture in any way? If yes, what kind of changes? Is it a difficult transition or is it easy? What have you seen as organizations have adopted something like Homes?
I think people sometimes underestimate what AI can do. And the easiest way to see that is to just use it on the things you think it can't do. I use it like take the things you think it can't do and put it in a good model. So everything I say assumes that you're using like Opus 4.6 or Sonnet 4.6, right? Put it on a good model and challenge your
Mm,
assumptions on what AI can or can't do. And we
mm,
consistently see that the things that people thought it can't do, actually it's really good at.
mm. Wow, that's really hopeful. And how does it run? So do you bring your own model, you put in your own API key, or is that hidden under Robusta's product? How does it work? I mean, under Homes, how does it work?
We offer both options. So we actually offer three options. One is use our SaaS platform and use our AI. The second is use our SaaS platform and bring your own LLM model. And then the third is actually deploy everything on premise or self-hosted inside your own environment and bring your own
Hmm.
large language model. So we offer all the options.
Okay, really interesting. Yeah, uh, and is Homes open source as well? Can you tell us a bit about that? Because I think quite an active GitHub project there. So, do you have some parts of it open source? How is the open source project structured and licensed?
The core engine is open source, and that's Apache and the CNCF project, and it's a multi-vendor project. So we actually started with it on our own, and HolmesGPT today, though, powers several commercial offerings. We're not the only one. For example, the AKS AI agent for Microsoft, the Azure Kubernetes Service AI agent, is HolmesGPT under the hood. So if you've interacted with that, uh, you've already used HolmesGPT. So many people out there have actually used it without realizing it. And there are a bunch of other companies and partners also building on top of that. So it powers a whole
Mm,
ecosystem, and then everyone builds on top of that their own user interfaces, their own workflows, their own ways of embedding that. And it's a really powerful community. And it's important to us also that the core functionality, of course, remain open source and is useful on its own as well. And we just announced also the HolmesGPT operator earlier this week in the open source that lets you run HolmesGPT 24/7 in your cluster and then proactively notify you when it finds problems. So we're constantly adding new features there as well.
wow. And tell us about some of the results that your customers have seen, in terms of reliability, performance, or cost reduction, or anything else that's surprising that you didn't expect. What are the kind of results?
So the reliability ones are really easy. And that's we see that all the time and reducing
Mm,
MTTR, finding problems. But I want to speak about something actually in the cost area that we've seen a
mm-hmm,
lot lately. Customers
mm-hmm,
go in and we say like when we first install, we say, okay, try this out. Connect your logging providers. That could be Loki, that could be Elasticsearch, that could be Splunk, that could be whatever your logging provider is, and then
mm-hmm,
ask it, how do I save on my logging costs? Find me the spammiest logs. Find me logs that are info level that a developer added, but they should really be debug level. Find me the spammiest logs that take up the most time, and then open up a pull request for each one to change it from info level to debug. And just in the past week, I saw one person, and I mean big companies. I'm not talking about small companies with a very minor logging spend. I'm talking about very large amounts of money in dollars spent on logging. I saw two companies, one that cut off 20% of their entire logging bill with a single log, and one that cut off 30% with two different log lines. So you've seen some really outsized uh, outcomes here. Like, how many things can you spend an hour on that will save you that much money on your company's monthly bill? It's been really
mm-hmm.
astonishing to me to see.
Wow, wow. Amazing, the possibilities. Um, we're almost at the end of our chat. I want to ask about your opinions on the year ahead. It seems like you already live a year ahead in your mind in terms of, the kind of, expectations you have and the kind of way that you're using AI. It seems like you're already ahead of the curve. So asking you for what you think is going to be happening in the year ahead is going to be, I think, quite interesting, and maybe even an unexpected response. But how do you see the next year shaping up for this space of using AI agents for cloud in the space that you're building? What do you see happening? What's most interesting to you that you may be thinking of when you think of the Holmes roadmap, or just broader than Holmes, just trends that you're following in AI that you think we're on the verge of it and it's going to come and I'm waiting for this in the next few months. Tell us about that.
So I want to speak about the things that worry me and then more of a positive note about things that excite me. So I've
Okay.
spoken on this a little bit, but what worries me is that I don't think we are ready for an industry, as an industry, for the tsunami that is coming. And I think that most people
Mm,
don't realize there's even a tsunami coming. But
mm,
we are seeing that a lot of, I'll give you an example, okay? There's and this is like a common example that I've seen play out quite a bit. But like, there's some piece of software I want and it doesn't do exactly what I do. I could go and vibe code a custom version of that. Now, of course, I would never do that for Salesforce. It wouldn't make sense for me. I would never like do that. So I actually don't think the big SaaS vendors are as at risk from this. That's not the type of thing I want to
mm,
vibe code. But like on in terms of like some of the smaller applications or things that we would once use, like I could vibe code a version of that that's perfect for our needs in a way that the like off the shelf one I could purchase online is not. And I think people don't. fully appreciate enough just the power that's happening here, and then the painful
mm,
second order consequences of that. Because when that's true, like we are going through a transition phase. I think the place we reach on the other side of that transition is actually really interesting and positive. We are going through a
mm,
transition phase, and that transition can be really painful. And so I want to say again to everyone out there, like, don't be sitting on the beach. Like ride the tsunami. Like be that. Like there's a big change coming. Be part of that change. Ride that change. Take that and see how you are the companies are innovating and replacing other companies, not the companies that are being replaced because someone else can now do the work 20 times faster.
mm,
So I really think
mm,
everyone should like take that risk more seriously at looking at how can we do things 20 times faster and not do things 4 times faster. Because there's this big temptation. It's like everyone feels fantastic. Everyone feels that we're doing things better now, but the bar has shifted. The bar has shifted. So
mm,
like, everyone is doing things 4 times better. It's like you're doing things 4 times better, and you feel fantastic. But the bar has shifted. That's actually sub. Like that's now sub average, not exceptional. So I think the question is
mm,
how do you do things even faster, and how can you really push the limits on the speed and the velocity at which you can act while still remaining safe, while still doing that in an enterprise, while still respecting enterprise constraints. And the two of those have to come together. Like I spoke earlier about us trying to move really fast with customers. Well, to do that, like we're not saying like, okay, AI generates stuff and then we just merge it. It's like we've had to invest a ton in verification capabilities and ephemeral environments to preview stuff, and like we've had in the automated code reviews, like with AI tooling that goes over it first. Like we had to invest a ton to be able to achieve that velocity in order to do it safely. And then the flip side of this, though, and what really excites me is fully autonomous agents. And like
mm,
the one thing I really want, and this may sound nuts, but the one thing that I really, really want is a safe way to give an AI a credit card with spending limits. Like a lot of the work that we do even is work on like spinning up a new cloud account for something to test something in like an isolated sandbox environment. We have a Notion integration, going creating off like a test Notion account. And then the code is all written, but like someone still has to go off and like create a Notion account, maybe put in a credit card to upgrade it if we need, right? And like put some so a lot of that work I really want to like it's not fun work. No one enjoys doing it. I would love to like offload some of that actually to agents. So you can give agents emails to the email addresses today. We've played around with that a bit. You can like give them, of course, a browser and other capabilities. I want to be able to give them a credit card, but to do so in a safe manner because I'm not going to give them a credit card. But I wish there was like a safe, accepted like way with boundaries and with protections where I could like say, okay, the agent has this budget. This is what it's allowed to use. Or the agent has a credit card, but every purchase it does on that credit card, I have to approve first. So I'm excited about like actually how can we move more towards autonomous agents that are in the background doing a lot of the grunt work that we really don't want to do. But it has to come again with the safety boundaries and the safety mechanisms to allow that to happen. Or else we, for example,
mm,
would not adopt that. I mean, of course, no enterprise would.
mm. Wow. Yeah, that's quite a thought. Wow, imagine agents making purchases on your behalf. And I think yeah, you do have quite a futuristic and uh, an unconventional view of just how we can use agents that I think is going to become more normal with each passing month in AI. Uh, and it's great to see you already doing that with Holmes, building agents that review themselves and hold themselves accountable. So it definitely doesn't seem like a stretch from what you're already doing, and that's really interesting.
So it's happening today. Like, look at what people are doing with OpenClaw and like buying MacBook Minis and putting like sorry, is it OpenClaw now? They changed the name a few times. Putting OpenClaw or NanoClaw or PicoClaw, running the claws on that. Like people are going off and doing that. For the most part, they're still doing that though in a non-safe manner. Like people are giving it a credit card. I want to give it a credit card, but do so with safe boundaries. So I think more and more of like what people are doing on the fringes is going to be possible
Mm,
to do not on the fringes, and for that to happen, you need the safety mechanisms.
mm. I think Moltbot is what they finally ended up with, the
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, Maltbot. So Maltbook, I think is it's Maltbot now. No, I think they changed it to OpenClaw afterwards.
Oh, really?
I think
Oh,
so.
okay. Okay, I don't know. I think they've
I
been
could
through
be
like
wrong.
five
I could be
names.
wrong. Yeah, they changed it a few times. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure talking.
Yeah, yeah, same here. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for sharing all that you did, and really exciting to see what's happening with Holmes. A lot is going to happen. Come back and tell us after a year what 2026 has been like. And I'm sure it's going to be something brand new and something different. You really bring a lot each time you come on the show. So thanks so much for doing that.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Thanks to all of our listeners and viewers for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this conversation and do tune in again for the next one. See you on that one.